This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things finance, like which travel cards earn their keep and which are just heavy, shiny metal, the quick math for knowing when to pay with points or just swipe the credit card, planning group trips that won't ruin your budget or your friendships. If you haven't heard the story about friends who won't speak to each other after a 1-week vacation together, buy me a Diet Coke sometime and I'll tell you. The nerds at NerdWallet know this stuff better than me, and that's why I feel great about recommending the Smart Travel podcast. After all, we nerds have to stick together. Travel smarter and spend less with the help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. August is the perfect time to hit reset before the autumn rush begins, and I can't think of a better place to start than my closet. That's why I love shopping at Quince. I know you're not wearing your Quince Mongolian cashmere sweaters now, but you'll need them for the fall when it's time to put away those Quince golf shorts that you're wearing and that I've been loving in the warmer summer weather, and start looking at your autumn wardrobe. Quince is about fewer, better pieces. Their clothing are made with premium materials, built to last, and designed to become the ones you reach for day after day. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middleman, so you're paying for high quality, not brand markup. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app exclusive offers. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/traveler for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. Amateur Traveler, episode 1009. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about history and museums, gardens and battlefields, taverns and theme parks, as we go to Richmond, Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown in Virginia. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Virginia. I would like to welcome to the show Malorie Mackey, host of Weird World Adventures on Amazon Prime and the creator of maloriesadventures.com. You're going to have to check out the spelling in the show notes because it's not spelled the usual way. Malorie was also a traveling companion with me recently in Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown, Virginia. And we're going to talk about Virginia. First of all, Malorie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you lived in Virginia a little bit.
I've lived in Virginia almost my whole life. I grew up here, and then I spent 13 years in Los Angeles, and then came back a few years ago when everything got super digital and I didn't need to be in Los Angeles anymore.
And you're in Richmond, which is the other place we're going to talk about.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I wanted to get Malorie on is we were both down there in that historic part of Virginia there on the peninsula outside of Richmond, but we also spent some time in Richmond, but I don't know Richmond. And I feel like it's a city that I just got to start to understand when I was there. And we haven't talked about it on the show for a while. And it seems like a place that might be worth traveling to.
Yes, it's a huge historical hub. And I feel like growing up here, I got a lot of that, but it didn't sink in. And it wasn't something that I really put a lot of stock into or appreciated until I became an adult. And you realize Edgar Allan Poe grew up here. You can follow throughout his childhood and the things he liked as a young adult. And there's a whole day you can put together just following in Edgar Allan Poe's footsteps. And a lot of the beginnings of our country started in Richmond. Richmond used to be the capital. Richmond was also the capital of the Confederacy during the Civil War. So there's a lot of historical sites, a lot of battlefields. And recently it became very hipster and very art focused, which it definitely wasn't. I went to school for theater and did the whole art scene when I was in college. And I feel like I was the only person going to the art museum at that time. And that it wasn't appreciated for being an art scene. And now everyone goes to the VMFA, which is the big art museum. And people come from the microbreweries, and they turned all of the old Girl Scout cookie factories and the factories into loft apartments. So it's become very cool. and very hipster in recent years too, which it definitely was not a few years ago.
Excellent. I think you answered the question I usually ask now is why should someone come to Richmond? And then I think the other part of the question, why should you go to Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown is it was a wonderful place for us to be just before the 250 celebration
Yes.
because it is some of the most significant historic places in the U.S. And especially being at Yorktown where it all pretty much got won the independence. It didn't happen immediately after that, but that was the last major battle of the Revolutionary War. So excellent. What itinerary would you recommend for those of us who are heading to your area?
I would definitely spend some time in Richmond, and I would also spend time in Williamsburg in doing what we did there. So I'll go into details. But
Yep.
if you start in Richmond, I would definitely do some of the Edgar Allan Poe dark tourism side. There are some great things to do. The Poe Museum has the largest collection of Poe artifacts in the world. So it's a huge collection of things that were owned by, touched by, created by Edgar Allan Poe in this old stone house, which is the oldest stone house in Richmond. He wasn't associated with it, but it's a cool place to get to go and see all of the Poe memorabilia brought together. The curator who runs the Poe Museum, his name is Chris, and he knows anything and everything about Poe. And if you're lucky enough to run into him, he's a character in the best possible way.
And is that in Churchill neighborhood?
Yes, it's Churchill area. Yeah, and it's
Churchill-ish.
right near. Yeah. And up by the hill. So it's right by the historic St. John's Church, which is where Patrick Henry gave his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. So they do a lot of the reenactments there, especially for the 250th recently. They've had a lot more reenactments there. But you can go get the history lesson on Patrick Henry, on his big Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. Edgar Allan Poe's mother is buried there. His real mother, not his adopted mother. So Eliza Arnold Poe has a grave site there too. So it's connected to Poe. Down the road, there's Monumental Church, which is where he would go with his adopted family to church on Sundays. So they still have the pew that his family sat in. So you can get to go see that. And Linden Row Inn is another site that it's now an inn, but it has a cute little garden terrace, and that's where Edgar Allan Poe used to go meet with one of his first young loves. So there's a lot of Poe history, I think, that's worth exploring. And in the same vein, Hollywood Cemetery is there in the same area-ish. As you start moving more towards the VCU area, more kind of the college-y campus area, there are other things to do, like Hollywood Cemetery. There are 2 presidents that are buried at Hollywood Cemetery. James Monroe is buried there, and so is John Tyler. Jefferson Davis is also buried there. They did have a big Confederate area, which they've made a little more subdued recently, but that's still there. There's a lot of beautiful gravestones and statues and famous people from Virginia and historical figures that are buried there. There's a legend of a vampire at the Pool Crypt, the W.W. Pool.
I heard the legend of the vampire.
And it overlooks the James River, so it's beautiful. And then while you're there, you're very nearby Belle Isle. And Belle Isle is another great spot to go. You can either go through the front entrance to Belle Isle and cross over this low-hanging bridge that's suspended underneath the roadway that goes over the James and walk the perimeter of the Isle. Or you can go through the back side of it, which takes you directly to the rocks. And it's a place where people go sit on the rocks on the James. So you can hop rocks, you can have a picnic on the rocks in the James River while the water's going around you. That's something that I always did as a kid. I think it's a great activity for families. But then you also have fun going out with your friends and hanging out on the rocks when you're in college. So it's a fun activity to do for everybody. And the old power plants, like there's old power plant buildings that are there. And then the history of the island itself is really fascinating because the Powhatan Indians used to be there. So the Powhatan tribe was there, which kind of relates us over to Jamestown and to Williamsburg a little bit. And then it was brought in. Captain John Smith actually did go through and discover and explore Belle Isle. So his story takes you through there as well. It was its own civilization for a while there before it became a military prison during the Civil War, and they held a lot of
Hmm.
soldiers there. The island has so much history, and I didn't even know that growing up. We would just go, it's a beautiful place to go have a walk and to go hang out on the rocks. And then you start looking into its history and you realize how many important things did happen there.
I had a chance when I was in Richmond to do one of the tours that, because we were both there for the TBEX conference, the Travel Blogging Exchange Conference, which is a travel blogging conference that I've talked about on the show before. But I did a tour of Richmond that was quirky things in history, where they talked
Oh, I like
about
that.
things like the vampire myth and where that came from. And they talked about Poe and him swimming the river on a bet when he was young and all those sort of things. But I also found it an interesting introduction into the neighborhoods in Richmond, which was good for me because I was staying downtown
Right.
near the convention center, and that is not the prettiest part of Richmond.
No.
Unless you're going to something at the convention center, I wouldn't recommend staying there. It's probably the least pretty part of Richmond, or one of the least
Right.
pretty, versus Churchill, which we mentioned, which is lovely, and the area down between there and the river, which has bookshops and brick-lined streets. And then there's some even prettier and interesting up-and-coming neighborhoods out in the other direction.
Yes. There are a lot of distinct neighborhoods. Carytown is another big one. I'm sure they pushed Carytown because it's very hip. It's very cool. It's one of the few places you can park your car at a single spot and just go walk all the way down Cary Street. So it's like
Yep.
this big shopping hub, and you're meant to do it on foot. So it's like kind of our downtown shopping area.
Well, and that was the area that when I saw that, I went, oh, that's why people have been talking to me about Richmond. Because not just the shops and things like that, the old theater there, but also the number and variety of restaurants and
Yes.
the variety of types of food there, from the
Yes.
Vietnamese to the Thai to the Mediterranean to the Greek to the whatever. It was all there.
Yes. It has a little bit of everything. And I love that you did the obscure stuff because I like the weird kind of obscure stuff. And there's also the historic pump house used to be the water
Yeah.
pumping facility.
Hmm.
And in the 1920s, they had a ballroom over top
Huh.
of it that people
Okay.
would go to parties there. So the Richmond elite would be having a party, like a Gatsby party, over the waterworks for the city, and they could walk down and go through the catwalk and look at the waterworks while the party was going on. And
Huh.
first it was just hearsay, and then historians have actually pulled instances where, yeah, there was a party here and this happened. And they do tours now too, so that's a fun place to go to do a tour of the old water pumping station to get the history, and then to get to see that weird ballroom on top of it. And the curator for the Poe Museum, Chris, will do an event there every year at Halloween where he dresses up like Edgar Allan Poe and recites Poe stories up in the ballroom upstairs. So that's very cool.
Well, you were talking about the river, which is actually what reminded me of the tour that I did, because one of the things that we learned about on that tour was Tate Field, which was the old baseball stadium that doesn't exist anymore in the middle of the James River. And not quite where you were, but a little further upstream, there used to be a baseball diamond. And apparently, Babe Ruth in a baseball game there hit one of the longest home runs ever hit, because he hit it and it fell into a train car heading to Baltimore. I'll put a link in the show notes to the tour that I did for the quirky things in history in Richmond, because it's a regular tour that they offer.
That is very cool. I know the baseball diamond is over off of Boulevard by the Science Museum. It was our baseball hub just until
Right.
this past year, and now they just recently moved it.
Oh,
And built
that
a new one.
recently. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that. Cool. Well, I interrupted you. You were on the rocks.
I was on the rocks. Maymont is another good one too. I don't know if you heard about Maymont Park,
No.
but Maymont Park, it was the old estate for the Dooleys, the Dooley mansion. They were like an elite family in Richmond, and their mansion is still there.
Hmm.
And they had it where when they passed away, they gave it to the city with the addendum that it would be a public park.
Okay.
So now it's a park for everyone. You can pay to do like just a nominal fee, like a small tour of the mansion itself and see what the history would have been like. But the grounds are just free to visit. So it's this big open park for everyone. And they have a barn with barn animals. They have a little zoo that has like a bobcat and some more obscure animals. They have Japanese gardens, Italian gardens. It's very pretty, and it's a great place to just go if you want to be outside and walk around and see how beautiful Richmond can be. That's another great spot for that.
Very cool.
Those are my Richmond hubs, I feel like. We did the historical side, we did the little bit of the weird side, and then the Belle Isle and Maymont are just like the classic, and Carytown. You need to do Richmond's.
Before we leave Richmond, the other thing that you didn't mention that I know a lot of other people who we were with at TBEX really enjoyed was I'm forgetting the name of the district, but the breweries.
It's a huge microbrewery site now. And
that's north of Carytown, but I can't come up with the name of the neighborhood.
There is a bunch of them. There are a lot of them, and they're spread out. But the thing that I like is that they're all competing, so they're all very obscure. So there are some really fun ones. There's a place called Strange Ways that's my favorite. And Strange Ways does like weird, obscure, like that's an interesting flavor I've never tried before. Experiences. Okay. They have Lucky Charms beer. When Barbie came out, they had the Barbie beer, and it was sparkly and pink and amazing. And they have like a Yeti beer. It's all very strangely themed and weird. And I just love that because they embrace that, like, we're going to just experiment and try all these strange flavors that no one's had before.
That's funny.
And I think that makes it fun for everybody.
Okay. Anything else before we leave town? I know you were getting ready to go off here.
I was getting ready to go. There is the more mainstream stuff, like the VMFA, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, is really great now. It's become so mainstream and so well cared for, and it has a lot of fantastic exhibits that come in. It became very popular because they filmed Homeland in Richmond. And Claire Danes liked the VMFA. So then everyone's like, oh, we should all go to the VMFA now. So then it became very popular.
Free, as I recall.
It's free.
So it's someplace you could just drop in.
Yeah.
You don't have to earn your entry fee on a 2-hour visit or something like that if you don't want to.
Exactly. And they have some exhibits that come in that are like an extra fee, but like the stuff that lives there is free. And it's right next to the History Museum. The History Museum is interesting, and they actually do cover a lot of the history of Jamestown and Pocahontas and John Smith because that's important to the area. So they do cover that at the History Museum next door as well. And then the Science Museum is down the street too. And I have to say the Science Museum is great. I used to go as a kid, and when I would go, it was very outdated, I feel. And then as of the last 15 years, they've really stepped up, and it's incredible. And they have many traveling exhibits come through. And even the stuff that just lives there now it's really fascinating. It's great for kids. They have a lot of activities and areas for kids, but it's also really good for adults too.
You may have heard about Built as the loyalty program that lets you earn points on rent wherever you live. Well, they just leveled up even more. As of 2026, homeowners can also earn up to 1.25x points on their mortgage payments. This is thanks to Built's 3 new credit cards, the Palladium Card, Obsidian Card, and Blue Card. All 3 turn your housing payments, rent or mortgage, into flexible rewards, so you can choose the card that fits your lifestyle without missing out on points and exclusive benefits. Built points can be redeemed at top airlines and hotels, Amazon.com purchases, future rent payments, and more. Built points have also been ranked by top publications as the industry's most valuable point currency. Your housing payment is already your biggest expense. Make it your most rewarding. Find the card that fits your lifestyle and apply today at joinbuilt.com/traveler. That's joinbilt.com/traveler. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Terms and limitations apply. Subject to approval and eligibility, Built cards are issued by Column NA, member FDIC, pursuant to license from MasterCard International, Incorporated. If weight loss has felt like a losing battle, this summer can be different. Skip the guesswork and try Weight Loss by Hims. Access an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill and the Wegovy pen, plus the support to actually stick with it. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite, eat less, and keep weight off. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever GLP-1 pill for weight loss, so there are no needles needed. And I don't like needles. So that sounds good to me. And it doesn't stop there. Hims makes hitting your goals seamless by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team and in-app lifestyle and nutrition support like recipes, meal plans, fitness videos, sleep content, and more. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/TAT to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's hims.com/TAT. hims.com/TAT. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is a registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com. And the one museum that I got to, but I got there too late in the day, and so I planned to get back the next day, was the Civil War Museum down by the river in the old mill.
Okay, I haven't been to that one.
That's definitely someplace that I'm going to get next time I'm in Richmond, because I've heard good things, but I did not get a chance to spend any time there.
I'm sure it's fantastic because we have so much of the history.
You have a bit of history.
Yes. So we'll move forward over into Williamsburg.
Cool.
And I feel like with Williamsburg, there's two types of travelers, people that are coming in. You're either going to want to be there for the history, or you're going to want to be there for the really fun mainstream amusement park kind of stuff. Because there's, and when you're here and you're living here, I feel like we regularly go to Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens and Water Country USA. They're both owned by Anheuser-Busch. It's the same company that owns it. They just have those two big parks in Williamsburg, and it's such an easy place to go for the day if you're in Richmond. So a lot of people go for that. And I will say I love Busch Gardens because it's like Epcot. Here, it's like a closer Epcot. You get to experience all of the countries around the world in one place. They have great food. You can eat in Italy and have some pasta, or you can go to the Festhaus in Germany, which is really where everybody goes because that's where the party is. And they have all the beer steins in the back, and you have this huge bar back there so you can party it up in Germany in the Festhaus. And then they also have delicious German food. So I usually go for the roller coasters because they do have some great roller coasters at Busch Gardens.
I would say that you're going to get the most out of the park if you're a roller coaster fan. Would you say that's fair?
I would. It didn't used to be like that. There was 4 roller coasters for a while. Yeah. And it was more about the ambiance. And I think then there was 5 or 6. And then when I came back just the other year, I was like, this is crazy. How is there 11 roller coasters here now? There was only 4. But it's a huge roller coaster hub. But Apollo's Chariot.
And it's definitely going to be a workout if you try and get to all the destinations. They even talk about just doing a workout by walking through all the parks, all the areas of all the parks, because it's not on a flat place like Disneyland also. But it's a very beautiful park with a lot of greenery and such.
And you can do it in a loop. I like that you can do it in a loop.
Yep.
And I used to go for the roller coasters. Apollo's Chariot is my favorite because it doesn't do crazy loops, but it makes you feel like you're flying. It's still like an intense roller coaster where you're supposed to feel like you're Apollo, like the sun god, right? And you're just like going over these really intense hills so you feel like you're flying. And that one's the one where Fabio got hit in the face with a goose on. Do you remember that?
I don't, but you talked about it when we were at the park.
It was a whole scandal. But anyway, it's great. But this time I was pregnant, so when we went this time together, all I could really do was walk around and eat, and I enjoyed that too. So I like that it has things that everybody can do. And the ambiance, I feel like, in the animal shows, and it's enough to keep you entertained even if you can't do the roller coasters. But you definitely get the most out of it if you can do the roller coasters.
And I think the roller coasters, and especially the water park, does beg the question of, do you have a favorite season, time of year, or even day to be in this area of Virginia?
I love the fall. And maybe that's just because I grew up loving the fall and all the changing leaves and the beautiful colors. And there are just beautiful foliage in the area if you're here in the fall. And I lost that when I was in Los Angeles.
And I would guess late fall, since you're relatively far south compared to Vermont and places that get early fall colors.
It depends. I think it depends
Uh-huh.
on the year. Because I think last year it was very late. It was late fall. But the year before that, I think it was earlier. And I lost fall when I was in Los Angeles. There, I never got that. There was no changing leaves and
The
pretty
palm trees do
colors.
not do that, no.
They do not. So it's nice to get to experience it when it's, I feel, the prettiest, which for me is the fall. And that's really when you really get to see all that foliage. But I will say Busch Gardens and Water Country and King's Dominion and all of the parks here in this area, they are not open year round.
Yeah.
So it's not like Disney, because I also was spoiled going to Disneyland all the time, right? It's not open every day of the year.
Right.
They're only open into early fall. And then they open special for Halloween. They open special for an event at Christmas time, but they're not open in the winter, and they're only open sometimes in the fall.
Okay.
So it's good to know, because I forgot that happened when I was in LA and everything's open all year round.
And you said there were two types of visitors to the area, and one was
Yes.
your theme park visitors. You talked a little bit about Busch Gardens. You didn't mention the water park. Water parks are fun.
Yeah, Water Country, the water park for it, it's a completely separate park. So it's a completely separate experience. It's not in the same park. So you're driving just a few minutes down the road. It's just a huge water park. It's one of the biggest water parks I feel like I've seen. And it has the wave pool. It has the giant slides. It has a little bit of something for everybody there too, but just on the water side of it.
Okay. I love a good water park.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be
It's
honest.
great. It's great. And I remember, this is probably very outdated because I haven't been to Water Country in a very long time, but I remember they have a dark tunnel slide called the Pipeline that was big when I was a kid. It's intense because it's in the dark. They're always trying to do some new thrill ride type of slide.
Got it. Cool. Anything else about that style of visitor that we need to talk about? Can we talk about pancake houses? What's the story with Williamsburg? There were an unending number of pancake houses that we didn't stop and eat at any of them, I would have to say, but there were a lot.
I've never noticed, but it's true, because so you're in Richmond, you go to Williamsburg, and if you keep going, you wind up at Virginia Beach. It's another hour away. And then you're just at the ocean. And Virginia Beach is also filled with pancake houses. So I don't know what it is with that area, but they are everywhere. And I don't know, maybe they're just competing with each other, but I don't think there's anything that special about it for the region. But you're right, I never thought about that before. They are everywhere.
It's funny.
I wish I had some cool story about it.
Somebody from the area was even telling us a lot of them are owned by the same family, which then I really don't understand. But
that's really weird.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true though. They are everywhere. And then, so you have the thrill seeker side, or the amusement park, the family fun side. And then you have the historical side. And all of Williamsburg is really about the history. They lean into the history. That's what they're there for. And Jamestown is the first place that you go when you're on a school field trip. Everyone takes the field trip over to Jamestown to learn about it. And something that I didn't realize, or I guess I just haven't been in so long that I just forgot, but it's multiple sites. It's not just one site.
Right.
Because when I think of Jamestown, I think of the settlement. So they have like a reenactment.
So not the real site of Jamestown.
Exactly.
And my impression is when you were a kid, there wasn't as much there.
They're
still doing a lot of archaeology in that area. And one of the things they told us that was funny was there was a statue of John Smith, and he was looking out at the river because it's right along the river. And it was supposed to be him looking at the lost colony because we've lost Jamestown. It's been consumed by the river. And then they did the archaeology and found out that he's got his back to most of it.
Yes, it's true. And that's the part that I didn't even realize was there. I don't know if they just really hadn't found much of it when I was young enough to go there.
I think so. I think that's right.
And it's fascinating that it's a working archaeological site. I think showing up for that and getting to experience that is amazing. I know they had archaeologists come in on like certain days of the week for people. They could just watch them work. And I think that's really exciting and something that's great for kids. And then it has a museum there that shows some of the artifacts that they found. And that part is fascinating. And I think what it used
Hmm.
to be was the settlement, like the Jamestown settlement that we went to, where they have the
Right.
reenactment site. And that's the part that I always remembered. I
Right.
remember going to as a kid, and they have the people dressed up and they recreate what the houses would have looked like, and there's chickens running around, and then they have
And
the
the Indian
boats.
settlement
Yeah,
and two different boats, which are really tiny boats.
they're tiny boats. They were so tiny. And I think that history is so important to
Yeah.
Virginia and to Richmond and to the area, because Richmond also has ties to Pocahontas and to John Rolfe
Yep.
and John Smith. John Smith explored Belle Isle. They settled in Jamestown and then
Right.
eventually continued further into Richmond to at least explore. And Pocahontas had married John Rolfe,
Right.
and John Rolfe had tobacco farm in the Richmond area. There is actually a site, I guess I should mention, that's like Jamestown called Henricus, that's
Okay.
in Richmond. And it's the second settlement. Jamestown is the first settlement, Henricus is the second settlement. And
Okay.
for a while, it was just the archaeological side of it. It was just a park. They had a little thing commemorating this is where the second site used to be, the second colony of Virginia.
Huh.
And recently, as of, I don't know, 10 years ago, they built it to be another reenactment site. So you can come and see what it
Okay.
was like. And it overlooks the James River. And on the other side of it is the land where John Rolfe had his tobacco farm.
Got it.
So there's a lot of ties to that story that runs through Jamestown into Richmond.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's how they get kids excited about it. When I went, you get excited because Pocahontas was a Disney movie and it was new when I was a kid, and it's exciting. And now we're going to talk about this history and Captain John Smith. And
Which has very little to do with the Pocahontas movie, but
yes, very little to do. I think also maybe not, well, definitely not historically accurate, but if you ever
no.
heard of The New World, is a great movie that I think,
Yes.
I love that movie. And they
Yes.
filmed that in Richmond and Jamestown.
Okay.
And so a lot of it was filmed in actually in Jamestown. So that kind of gives you a little bit more of a historical viewpoint for it. And plus Colin Farrell plays John Smith, so that's fun. And I think Christian Bale is John Rolfe.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't remember that.
yeah. It's a great movie.
So
But
you were talking about the two different places in Jamestown, the real site where it was, which is both a national park site as well as a private conservation organization, which is interesting because you walk from one to the other. Were you trying to do drone photography?
no, but it was somebody else was. I
It was
know.
somebody else there.
Yes.
And they're like, you can do it here, but you can't do it there because you can't do it in national park sites, period. But it's a mixed site, which is interesting. The museum is definitely something that I would say make sure you spend time in the museum there. But also in the recreation site, I didn't realize how extensive the museum was. And
Yes.
we were rushed for time there in our schedule. I think you need at least half a
Definitely.
day. I think we spent like 1 hour at the historic site, and maybe it was a little longer than that, and not much longer than that at the Jamestown settlement site. And you should spend more time there, especially if you have kids, I think. But because I
Definitely.
think there are a lot of things to explore. I loved while we're standing by the little boats, they're explaining how knots work and how they would measure the speed of boats by dropping this thing in the river. And it was a knotted rope, and then they would count the knots, and then you do your math and figure out how fast you were going. And when you've got people who are not just showing you recreations of things, but going into detail and explaining things, that's always a lot more fun. And then, of course, they
Yes.
fire the cannons. So,
That was fun. It's always cool to kind of see that living history. And I think that's what
Yep.
makes all of Williamsburg so special. So we got a little bit of it at Jamestown. And then Colonial Williamsburg is known as the largest living history museum in the world.
Yeah.
It's funny, I don't think I ever really spent much time in Colonial Williamsburg growing up. And you hear all about it. So it was also new for me to get to go there this time on our trip.
Interesting. It was my third visit there.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, I visited as a kid, as a 17-year-old. Basically, we did the bicentennial trip, but we did it a year later in 1977. I remember I was there. We were in D.C. during the 7th day of an air stagnation alert, and it was beastly hot in Williamsburg, as it can be in July and August in that area, more so even than we were there. We would go see the blacksmith, and then we would go sit in the shade at one of the taverns and drink an orangeade, and then we would go see the musical instrument makers there, and then we would go sit in the shade and drink a lemonade. It was a little challenging from that point of view, but we were much more fortunate with our weather during that. And then I was also there for our first post baby trip where
Wow.
grandma had the baby who was just starting to walk, and so that was a while ago. I think my son is probably your age, so
The cool thing about Williamsburg, the thing that I think makes it so exciting, is that you can go dozens of times and always see something new. There is
uh-huh.
so much happening. So you can rush through and do it all very quickly and just get a little bit of everything, or you can say, I'm going to see these two places on this trip and I'll save the rest for next time. And you can enjoy and take your time because, like you said about Jamestown, everyone is knowledgeable. You can go into the hat maker shop and the wig maker shop, and they're going to tell you this is how you make wigs, and this is why and they can talk to you for an hour about the history of wigs, right? So you can really spend that time in each place learning all about the history, or you can get a little bit of everything just to get the
Yeah.
experience in.
One of the docents in the lower and upper chambers of the state house, I guess it would have been, was explaining how the law worked in colonial times. And here's a particular case, this woman who is trying to get her marriage, I think a legal divorce, so that she could own property, and all of the different steps along the way and who had
Wow.
say. And of course, it ended up with the king, and the king turned it down, and talking about how that is one of the things that shows up in the Declaration of Independence
Mm-hmm.
is this issue that the king, and now we're talking George III, is
Mm-hmm.
stepping into issues and not providing the kind of decisions that his people need. I think
Right.
it's the
So
second
free.
clause in the Declaration. This becomes an issue, but he's explaining how it all works, and it was just fascinating as you're sitting in the room where these decisions were made, of course.
Yeah. And I liked that the guide that we had in the morning, she really focused on some weird stories. It was like the crazy, obscure, less about the history and more about just the wild stories of things that happened in the area, which I appreciated.
We also did a ghost tour, and then you get the real weird stories.
It's true. So George Wythe, they didn't talk about this. And I was like, I'm shocked that they didn't talk about
I
this.
don't know this story.
George Wythe was supposedly murdered by his grandnephew, George Wythe Sweeney, with arsenic to take over the property and the land. And it's documented enough where you can look it up and there's
Huh.
information on it. So I'm
Interesting.
surprised that they didn't say that. That was not, we even went to the George Wythe house and
Yep.
they didn't cover that story. And I was like, I wonder why they left that out.
The other thing we did at Williamsburg that I've enjoyed every time I've been there is the taverns.
Yes, the tavern was great.
So we had dinner at the King's Arms Tavern, and not only is it a very good meal, but even the waiter is explaining the way things would work at the time and gives us these huge bibs basically as napkins and
Yes.
explains why you would wear this and who would stay here. And so even he is interpreting history for us while musicians come in and are playing historic instruments and such. Just a fascinating, wonderful experience. And I don't think you should go to Williamsburg and not eat in one of the taverns, personally.
I agree. The special like food and drinks too and punches and they keep some of the authenticity and I really like
Yeah.
that. And they explained why it was authentic and how it became different today and how it's not really what you would expect. And they had
Yep.
the vanilla eggs that were really good that were there for dessert, which I've never seen before and actually quite good.
Very cool. Anything else we should talk about with Williamsburg? Oh, the I think new since I was there, because it had been 38 years since I was there, was the whole more shopping, souvenirs, high-end
Yes.
shopping, and places to eat, which I think was nice because one, they built it in the style of the colonial Williamsburg, but also it just was a nice place as a tourist to get something to eat that was easy and simple for lunch and to do a little shopping if you wanted to. I know some people were looking for souvenirs and such. So I think they did
Yeah.
that very well. It could have been done poorly.
I agree. It was like a tiny little cute shopping area and the little brick buildings, and they were all
Yep.
together, so you didn't have to go too far. I liked that a lot. It was very simple and convenient, and there was that little bookstore that was
I didn't
hidden around
get to the
back.
little bookstore.
I liked it. It was very cute. It was like underground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I like that they offered, because some people just want to go and shop and eat. And so they have that for them too. And the other thing that you had your Civil War Museum, my thing I was trying to get to, which wasn't open, was the Public Hospital of 1776. Because
Okay.
I think it's the first insane asylum, so to
Yeah.
speak, of the New World. And they really tried to do good with it, and it was very innovative, but then obviously back then medical techniques were not good, so it still had a lot of not great history behind it, but it was different because some of the intentions were very good, and the people that were running it were trying to do good by people. And so that's only opened, I think, for a couple hours a week, so I'm actually talking with them to go back and get an interview there now, because I just find it fascinating. But it was closed when we were there, and I was bummed out about that.
Got it. Okay, so we should keep an eye on your socials for when you get a chance to get back there.
Yes, I'll be going.
Excellent. I've run websites for a long time, like 37 years, and most of that time commercially, most of that time in high tech. And the thing that kept me up at night was that fear of the hack. In cybersecurity, the scariest thing isn't the attack you see coming, it's the attack path you didn't know existed. And Horizon 3 is an AI native, proactive security platform that changes that. Here's how it works. Horizon 3 Node 0 is an autonomous AI hacker that continuously attacks your own environment at machine speed, the same way a real attacker would, finding all the areas that are vulnerable. You can stop guessing and start knowing that your defenses are intact because Node Zero's results is a loop. Hack, fix, verify, repeat. It finds the problem, you fix it, and in one click you can confirm it's secure. And then you can sleep better at night. See exactly what an attacker would find in your environment before they do. Go to horizon3.ai/traveler and request your free Node Zero demo. Visit horizon3.ai/traveler. Again, that's horizon3.ai/traveler. No commitment required, results in hours, not weeks. And thanks to Horizon 3 for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. When we were kids, summer meant freedom. No homework, no teachers, no school. And as adults, summer means freedom thanks to Mint Mobile's summer sale. Right now, all of Mint Mobile's plans are $15 per month, even unlimited. So free yourself from big wireless and their gimmicks and gotchas and switch to Mint for high-speed data and coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. I told you that long before Mint Mobile became a sponsor, I was looking at Mint Mobile to save money on my wireless plan because why spend more? All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get your new plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/traveler. That's mintmobile.com/traveler. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/traveler. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes. May slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable devices required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
And then we did Yorktown. I will say Yorktown I had not done before.
I
And
had none either.
I was glad to get to do that. I hadn't done it before this year because it came up this year because I was working on a book that's coming out in the fall called Secret Virginia, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure that just has a bunch of weird places in Virginia.
Excellent.
Things that are off the beaten path. And Yorktown came up because of Cornwallis's cave. And so we went to Yorktown just for the cave. So I didn't do anything prior to. So that was my first trip to Yorktown a few months ago. And then we actually experienced Yorktown when we went on this trip. But supposedly, and I think they know it's basically just like a myth. It's folklore at this point. It's not real. The story is that there's this cute little cave in the side of the mountain down by the beach area that's there in Yorktown where we had lunch. And Cornwallis kept getting pushed further and further to the ocean. So by the end, he was forced to do his military meetings in the actual side of the cliff. He retreated into the cave and would have his
Well,
meetings in there.
and we do know historically that the house that he was in was shelled to pieces. So
Yes.
there's some truth to, I think he was actually retreated to a wine cellar near that house is the
Hmm.
historic thing. So there's some truth to he was
Yes.
underground.
He was underground. And the actual history for it is that they think it was like a storage facility
Okay.
for grain, but they did use it to store weaponry in the Civil War. So it was used in the Civil
Interesting.
War
Okay.
to store weapons, and they actually have photos of soldiers standing outside of it, like real
Okay.
historical photos from the Civil War. So it was used in one of the wars, but they don't really think Cornwallis had his meetings down there. But it's a fun legend, and they do call it Cornwallis's Cave, and they have the historical plaque that's
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
when you go stand outside. So that's just a really fun, weird thing that's there. So that's what brought me there the first time. And then this time it was good to actually hear the history because I didn't know much about the Battle of Yorktown, and we got a full blow for blow of it.
And we went on a rather unusual tour that I can certainly easily recommend. We did a steam coach tour of Yorktown, which meant we were going out into the areas where the battlefield happened, including the moment that was depicted in Hamilton in the musical of Hamilton finally getting his experience in battle by storming the redoubt. And we were out there looking at it, but we were in this funny little historic steam coach. The only thing that would have made it better, and I've told them that, is if they'd made it steampunk, if the driver had been wearing the goggles and things like that. But it was
Yeah.
just fun to tour the grounds in that way. But it gave me a better sense of it. I was familiar with the battle, and
Mhm.
so there's the big battle where basically Cornwallis gets trapped against the ocean. They're supposed to get resupplied by the ships, but the French Navy comes up and blocks the resupply and then basically keeps him trapped there long enough that they're able to put him under siege and he has to
Mhm.
surrender an entire army. So at that point, the war is pretty much over. That's the second army that they have lost. So it's one of those things where they say George Washington won two battles, I think, in the 9 battles he fought in the Revolutionary War. This was, or maybe it was 3. I think it's Trenton, Princeton, and Yorktown in
Mhm.
all of the years of the war. But this one really is the one that counted because it
Yeah.
was the one that ended it. But yeah, wonderful site, wonderful museum then that we were able to go to. We didn't spend any time in the visitors center is the only thing that I regretted. Again, the problem with doing a
Yes.
press trip is everything is compressed. What you're going to
Yes.
do on a press trip in 3 days, really you should spend 6 days doing. So
Yes. And it was cool. The waterfront is nice. We had lunch on the waterfront.
it is lovely.
Yeah. And they had cute shopping down there. And then we got to take the trolley up to the museum. And the museum, I will say, I was so tired and my feet were so swollen by the time we got to the museum that I was like, I'm going to take a little break here. And I didn't get to see much, but we got to do the preview of the exhibit that was new there.
Yeah, so other people will get to see the exhibit that we saw. But the museum there, which is affiliated, we should say, with Jamestown
It is.
Settlement, also has then reenactment there of the American camp and the farms in the area, and get to see the musket demonstration and the cannon demonstration. And then inside, a very good interpretation of the history of the Revolutionary War, not just the Battle of Yorktown, but the whole thing. And it
Hmm.
is an extensive museum that I felt like we ran through.
We ran through it. Definitely. And it had so many interesting pieces that were there. They had several drafts of the Declaration of Independence because we saw
Oh, I didn't
one.
even see those. Okay.
Yeah. And so they had a lot of really fascinating things. So it's worth the time. But yeah, I will say that by the time we got there, I was like, I'm going to sit over here and rest for a while.
You've got a good excuse. You're with child here, as it were.
Yes. And it was so hot. It was
It was a
very
warm
hot.
day.
But yeah, that was great too. I want to go back now to experience the museum further. And I feel like there is so much at Yorktown that we didn't get to see. So,
Yeah, and then the other thing as I say, we didn't get to see was we didn't get up to the visitor center for the national park. This is a national
right.
park run site. And for me, as somebody who collects national parks, what that also meant is I didn't get my stamp. Oh well.
Yeah, the stamp. I know
I'll
that's.
have to get
I have
back.
one of those for my daughter that I was bad and didn't bring. So
You can always stamp the piece of paper if you get to the place that has the stamps and put it in. And I've got a lot of stamps in my national park passport that are pasted in because I forgot
That's
to
a good
bring my
idea.
national park passport and didn't
Hmm.
realize there would be a
Hmm.
place to stamp that. And actually, not related to this trip per se, but one of the reasons I like having the national park passport is it's gotten me to places I never would have heard of. Basically,
Hmm.
because you're looking for those stamps, you look to see what national parks are in this area, and it's gotten me to those more obscure national parks.
Hmm.
For instance, I got it in Hawaii, and so we got a chance to go to the Pu'u'ohonau National Park, which is something that I would not have known about if I hadn't had my national park passport.
That's very cool.
Excellent. What else do people need to know before they head down to Virginia to learn about their U.S. history or do the roller coasters or
I would say plan for all kinds of weather. We have all four seasons, and it gets
yes?
really cold in the winter and really hot in the summer. And in the in between, you get a little bit of both. And it rains pretty frequently. So I would
Yep.
definitely be prepared for rain. It rained while we were there. There's a lot more, I feel like, outdoor activities than not. And you can cater your vacation for whatever you like, but definitely be prepared to go outside. And I think a lot of the beauty in
Hmm.
Virginia is outside. So be prepared to walk a lot and to be ready for a little adventure and go off the beaten path some to get to experience the beauty of the state because I think it's very pretty. And even the
Hmm.
cities like Richmond has beautiful outdoor experiences.
So we talked about Carytown in Richmond. Let me go
Mm-hmm.
take you back to there. We didn't talk about food so much.
Mm.
Do you have some favorite restaurants? Doesn't have to be in Carytown. You gave us a favorite brewery.
I did. The problem is my favorite restaurant that was in Carytown closed, and that's just heartbreaking. Called the Baker's Crust, which was a really good bakery. But the Galaxy Diner, I think people love
Okay.
it. Galaxy Diner is great, and that's in Carytown. And there are some really weird, obscure, sometimes harder to get into places,
Okay.
like a La Possum. It's called La Possum. And
Okay.
it's like a weird, quiche, bizarre, really high end place that's hard to get into in Richmond.
All right.
And I definitely recommend that. I've done a press trip before with Richmond Tourism, and they got us into La Possum. And I was like, I didn't even know this is here. And this place is fabulous. The Jefferson Hotel is a great place to
Oh,
go, a great
yes.
place to eat. They have tea time in certain times of the year, like special tea visits. They have a great brunch.
But
That's
they
another
don't
really
have
great
the
place.
alligators like they used to have in the lobby for many years,
No.
which is a bizarre story. They had alligators, real alligators in the lobby. They have statues outside that talk about this, but I do not understand that.
It's a weird place. I know now they do have the alligator. There's also, this is good for food and for fun. There's a
Yeah.
place called Hotel Green that
Okay.
is downtown, and it's in part of the remains of the old Hotel John Marshall. And
Okay.
it's a mini golf. It's made to look like an
Say
old
what?
1920s facility, indoor mini golf, but they also they have a bar and they'll do like a brunch on the weekends. And so you go in and you have a nice brunch and then you play around a mini golf in the old hotel downstairs.
Okay.
It's very very
I
weird.
love it. Okay.
And I like going there to eat. Like the food is great.
Okay.
So
Are
that's a good
is there a
obscure one
place
too.
that you would recommend to stay? Obviously, we're not going to send everybody over to your place.
The Jefferson, if you're looking for, I don't care how much I'm going to spend and I want a great experience, getting to
Yeah.
stay at the Jefferson is always great. Linden Row Inn, that I mentioned before, has some roots to Edgar Allan Poe. That's a great place to stay.
Okay.
That's really, I would look for the historic. They have many historic hotels, and I would put the value in the historic hotel or the Airbnb over just the nonsense regular hotels.
Yep. And definitely, I have a vote against staying downtown by the convention
Yeah.
center. Stay up
Yes.
by
Not
Carytown if
there.
you can. Excellent.
Yes.
And I think the Jefferson is not in Carytown, but it's in the Fantail, I think, on the way there.
Is it the fan? I think so. Let me
It's
see.
in the next neighborhood or so, not far from the university.
It's considered downtown Richmond. So it's not
Okay.
technically the fan.
Got it.
It's near the edge of the fan in the Monroe Ward district.
Excellent. I don't know my districts yet.
I don't really so much either. I like there's certain ones like Churchill, Shockoe Bottom. I know those, but
And then for food or staying near Williamsburg, do you have any recommendations?
I like the Hotel Rochambeau that we stayed at.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a good one.
Now, really a motel Rochambeau, isn't it?
It was definitely a motel, yes. Yes. And
but kind of an upscale motel? I don't know how to describe it.
I never stayed in an upscale motel before. It was very strange. I remember being like, this is a choice. But then it was wonderful. Like, it's very boutique.
It was lovely.
So I like that. There's a lot of historic manor houses, I feel like, near colonial Williamsburg that are hotels now, or bed and breakfast. So I would look for a bed and breakfast if you're going to get the full experience.
Okay.
I don't know any particular ones, but because usually I'll just go up for the day. But I know people I know have been like, this bed and breakfast is great. And
then any recommendations for restaurants?
Definitely eat at a tavern, like we talked about. You have to do the tavern experience for sure. And there's a lot of quirky little Italian spots. There's one that we hit up that was good on our trip.
I think that was Giuseppe's.
Giuseppe's, yes. Giuseppe's was very good. There's also, this is not a local, but they do have a Captain George's seafood buffet.
I don't know Captain George's seafood buffet.
And it's pretty good.
Is this an East Coast thing that I don't know?
It is an East Coast thing. It's like a beach town thing because they have one in Myrtle Beach. They have one in Nags Head or the Outer Banks.
Okay.
And then Virginia Beach, and they have one in Williamsburg. It's pretty good. If you're gonna go for the like full seafood buffet, I recommend some Captain George's.
All right. Cool. I think we're winding down on an itinerary. Anything else you want to add before we get to some of our wrap-up questions?
I think that's it. I think adding in Henricus was a good call. But yeah, that's good.
Excellent. As we get to some of our wrap-up questions, you're standing in the prettiest spot in this area of Virginia. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
Oh, if we're talking about Richmond, I would say Maymont or Belle Isle. Yeah. I go to both places, like in my mind, and Belle Isle on the rocks is really just can be absolutely beautiful, and then Maymont up at the manor house looking over the Japanese gardens is really pretty.
Those gardens look gorgeous.
They're amazing.
If we were talking about Williamsburg area,
maybe somewhere overlooking the water. I thought the water was very pretty, and we didn't spend a lot of time getting to enjoy it.
Yep. One of the reasons they were there is it's a deep water port where the British Navy should have been able to come in and resupply them. And so you're right there by a big bridge with boats that are going out on charter trips and things like that. And that was a lovely part of it that I wasn't expecting, honestly.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Excellent. And if you had to summarize the region in just 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Adventure, history, and nature.
Excellent. Our guest again has been Malorie Mackey. And now, Malorie, Weird World Adventures on Amazon Prime. Do I just go to Amazon Prime and search for that, or how do I find your Amazon Prime TV show?
Yes, so it's on Amazon Prime. You can also stream it free on Roku and Fire TV devices. So I would say any smart TV, if you just type in Weird World Adventures, it'll come up and give you the options to watch because it is internationally free to stream. For some reason, Amazon does not have us free to stream in the US because we've been pushing for that. But there are ways to stream it for free through the Fossum app, which is on Roku, or Fire devices through Plex. So if you just
set
put
your
it in
VPN
your smart
to
TV,
London or something, yeah.
Exactly. Or put it in your smart TV. It'll tell you exactly where you can watch it.
Excellent. And then on your website, maloriesadventures.com, do you have a great post that would be useful for someone who is heading to this area?
Definitely. I actually am releasing a bunch of posts about the trip that we just went on. So those will be coming out next week. So
okay, well, this won't come out for weeks after that. So Perfect. They're there by the time this comes out. So we'll put a link in the show notes to your website, but then I'll probably also pick out a couple of those posts when they come out and put them also in the show notes so that people can find them more easily.
Perfect.
Malorie, and I'm going to spell Malorie here, Malorie. Thank you for coming on the show and for sharing with us your obvious love for Richmond and the Williamsburg area.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
We have a number of sponsors on Amateur Traveler, and I'm grateful for all of them, but my wife is excited that Boll and Branch has come back as a sponsor. If you're not familiar with Boll and Branch, they have high-quality organic cotton sheets, pillows, blankets, and comforters that are all designed to be breathable, incredibly soft, and get better over time. We have Boll and Branch on our bed right now. They asked me to talk about a time in my life when sleep stops being optional, and sleep has never been optional. Even in college, I tried to get a good night's sleep, and sleep is important to me. Doing this podcast on top of a full-time job for 19 years, I did not skimp on my sleep. Sleep is very important, and what you put on your bed can affect your sleep. Consider their signature organic cotton sheets, their plush pillows, their breathable blankets, and their temperature-regulating comforters. Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/ATChris with code ATChris. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/ATChris. Code ATChris to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. And thanks to Boll and Branch for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on the scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Thanks again to Malorie, and a special thanks to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show, you can go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. If you're interested in traveling with me to Bolivia next year in May, go to amateurtraveler.com/trips to learn more, or just drop me an email and I'll send you the information. I heard recently from Karen, who responded to the episode I did about the Amateur Traveler trip in 2026. Hi, Chris. I recently listened to your podcast episode about your recent trip to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, which was enjoyable because I was also there exactly 2 years before as part of a longer trip to all 5 stands with National Geographic. Uzbekistan was definitely the highlight of my trip. Like you, I felt the cities just kept getting better as we went from Tashkent to Samarkand to Bukhara and Khiva. I know you said Khiva was your favorite. I thought that Khiva would be my favorite, but I was terribly sick the day we were there with a combo of a respiratory thing and a stomach thing. I dragged myself out of bed for the half-day walking tour, but I hardly remember a thing. Turkmenistan was certainly very interesting as well. We did the same land border crossing as well with all the same experience, rough with about half the group sick. I'm amazed they are still doing COVID tests. We were worried about it with a lot of the group sick, but they did not actually touch our nostrils when doing the test, just waved the wand around underneath our noses. Very funny. We did not visit the Darvasa crater, which I would have enjoyed seeing. Ashgabat was just the strangest city with all the white marble and gold, all white cars, and when we were there, the entire city seemed almost empty, with hardly any pedestrians around on the streets. I swear we were the only people staying at our entire hotel as well. Enjoying your episodes. I only started listening within the last year. You have so many old episodes to catch up on. Thanks again from another passionate traveler, Karen. Thanks so much, Karen. Not so fun to get sick on a trip. I was sick earlier this year on my Central America trip with fever and chills and lost a couple days of that trip. But sometimes it happens when you're traveling and you just soldier on as you did. I also heard recently from Vicky, who was on the European Waterways cruise that I talked about on a recent episode of the show. She said, "Hi, Chris. I have listened to your podcast on our barge cruise and thoroughly enjoyed it. I am sending it to all my friends. If I were you, I would find a way to get more barge cruises comped by going to European Waterways just by sending them the podcast. It's a perfect marketing tool, don't you think? By the way, your voice is perfect for being a podcaster. Happy travels, Vicky. Well, thanks so much, Vicky. I think you may have missed that they did, in fact, comp that trip. And they had been trying to get me back for years on another trip. It is something that I have enjoyed. And as we said, it's something that I wasn't allowed to do without taking my wife along. So we had to work around her schedule. With that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
I got to see one more cathedral. I got to sit in one more cafe. I know that I should be heading home, but maybe not today.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop!
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney Plus.